series. This is called Smart Innovation. I'm going to be talking about innovation in a professional way as well as a personal way. And the reason that I really want to talk about innovation is that it's really the job of everyone in any company in the 21st century to be an innovator. And also, the way life is working and the speed in which life moves and the speed in which your life changes in terms of its circumstances and opportunities really make innovation a core skill of the times in which we live. We also know that learning to innovate will make you smarter because it's going to raise your curiosity, your desire to learn, and really empower your personal genius. So that's why it's relevant to everyone. Now, inside an organization, the real question is, should everybody be an innovator? And the answer for me is yes. Because the reason you have a job is you either make money or you save money for the employer that you have. That's the reason anybody gets paid. We wouldn't hire anybody if they didn't contribute to either us making a profit or and growth or saving money. One or the other is going to be the reason that you create value for an organization. And when you know how you're creating value, you find out that's really the key to promotion and opportunity and all the other things you might want in your career. So let's start off by looking at companies who are really game-changing type of innovators. And you'll see on the slide it says turn a crazy idea into a great business. Now, if you look at all these businesses, they're all started with an idea that very few people believed in. When Howard Schultz came back from Italy with the idea to do Starbucks and create $4 and $5 coffee drinks, everybody thought he was a lunatic. And the idea that you could have a Starbucks within walking distance of each other, like in any city, you could be downtown, you would be 7 minutes walking between a Starbucks. That was crazy. Nobody thought that kind of saturation was a good idea. When Steve Jobs came out with the iPad, it was not really a computer, and it wasn't really a phone, it wasn't really anything. People didn't think it had a market. The next new generation of iPad that's coming out soon is actually designed to take the place of a laptop computer. And of course, Tesla. Electric cars before Tesla were kind of weird-looking, strange boxes that that only really kind of, well, I was going to say nerds, but you know what I mean. People who bought electric cars were eccentrics. And then Tesla comes out, and it's an expensive car to be sure, but it's exotic and beautiful and has a big range, and he's turned that into the most sought-after car, one of the most sought-after cars in the world. Well, if you look at all of these, they all started off in a way that nobody really thought they'd be special, nobody really thought they'd be significant when they were born. Airbnb, that's a dumb idea. You're just going to sleep on somebody's couch or in somebody's spare room, and you don't know if in the middle of the night they're going to steal all your money or strangle you or do whatever. It seemed like a crazy idea. Now they're the biggest hospitality organization in the world. So there's one thing all these companies have in common, and what I want to point out to you is what they have in common is that they overinvest in core ideas that are driven, in this case, by the founder's values. And what I'm really going to stress today is all innovation that is game-changing, that is really value-inducing, is based on values. So if we look at how the brain works, remember from last time that all of us, when we get a stimulus or an idea, a need to change, first it goes to the fast brain. Now our fast brain already deals with mental models that are embedded in our brain. It's the way we already think. And what that leads to is small improvements in what I call working harder. It's our smart brain. That's the open mind. When we really have an open mind about how to solve a problem, take advantage of an opportunity, that creates positive innovation, and that is driven by our values and our empathy. The empathy for the customer, and the customer could be an internal customer or an external customer. But whoever is going to be the object of our innovation, whoever we're going to serve better through our innovation, that's who we're empathetic towards. And when that's combined with values, you really create something extraordinary. Now, in the business world, this is kind of how it works. There's what's called 3 boxes of innovation. The first box is, how do we just do what we're doing better? That's called efficiency. And you hire process consultants to reduce costs and improve process. The next box is where you get to improvement. And this is where you improve a product or a service. And you do that a lot by just trying harder. And all competitors really focus on box one and box two, and that's kind of our present business. Now, innovation that really matters meets unseen needs with unexpected solutions. That's the blue box. In strategy talks, that's called the blue ocean. There's a great book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. If you really want to understand innovation that really creates value for customers, I'd go ahead and get that book. But in this blue ocean, it's called the field of universal empathy, and that means that we are aware of how our actions, our behavior, our offerings affect and impact customers. Remember, these can be internal customers or external customers. And when you look at the unseen needs of the people you serve, what it does is it gives you an opportunity to create a solution that makes you unique. It gives you a unique value advantage. Now, if you're working inside an organization, you don't really have customer contact. That doesn't matter. It still gives you a unique value advantage. In other words, it sets you apart from everybody in the organization that is doing what you do, that will give you a career boost. So why is it that innovation, the kind of innovation that I'm talking about, really comes from values? Well, one of the reasons is that when we're motivated by our values, we believe that our work takes on greater meaning. It's worth our best effort. So values are a big drive to both effort and creativity. So smart innovation is based on this one idea, that if you start with, I want to innovate, I want to make something better, and it could be a process or a product, certainly, better. It could be the way you serve internal customers better. The question you start with is, how much good can I do? It's called human-centered innovation. With all my assets, my knowledge, my ability, my energy, how much good can I do? And if I do that much good, will that cause the organization to grow? And the way I grow is I'm going to create new value by inviting other people to participate, by inventing new ways of serving, and by making the things that I do more ideal to the customer. Again, either internal or external customer. And if I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to gain a unique value advantage. And that unique value advantage goes to me personally, because as I said, it's a turbocharger for my career, or it goes to the organization, probably both. So I'm just going to give you a quick personal example. Several years ago, I was working for Alta Bates Hospital in Oakland, California, and it was managed by the CEO of the hospital, who was consumed with financial results. And he kept cutting back service, kept cutting back staff because he was having a hard time making money. And what happened was that patient satisfaction and clinical outcomes declined. And of course, as those declined, fewer and fewer people wanted to go to that hospital for service. So as the census in the hospital declined, the financials got worse. So it was a terrible cycle. A new CEO came in, and within 60 days, he gave a speech, and he said, what we're going to pay attention to is clinical outcomes and patient satisfaction. See, he was values driven. And he said, if we do, we're going to meet our financials. And he said, I'll take care of worrying about the financials. I'm not going to talk to you about that. I am going to reach our financial goals. That's not an option. I'm going to do that because I want this job for the rest of my life, which was true. And he's still there. But he said, we're going to put all our energy and focusing on clinical outcomes and patient satisfaction. By the way, everybody stood up. It was just a huge success. Because he was really getting at the value base of the employee teams in that organization. Now, we conducted some innovation workshops on what it would take to really improve clinical outcomes and patient satisfaction. And the way you do this, and this is the skill that I'm giving you today, is you reduce complexity and you're trying to make customer success easier. So obviously reducing complexity is pretty easy. Every time you reduce complexity from a consumer who's consuming whatever you're giving, and again, it could be an internal customer, or you increase consumer success, so that is that people who are working with you get success easier. You improve that by stopping doing certain things and over-investing in other things. And I often say, you're over-investing in things that create unexpected value. So this is what we did at the hospital. The first thing is we're going to stop treating patients and families like wallets, meaning because the previous CEO was so financially driven, all he saw from patients and families were that they were a source of funds. Instead, he said, the CEO, he agreed to this. He said, we're going to hire and overtrain more greeters. So as soon as you get in the hospital, people are going to tell you where to go. In fact, they're going to take you where to go so you can get service right away. We're going to increase the number of intake personnel we have and speed that process. And we're going to increase the number of triage nurses in the areas of emergency care and so forth. So in other words, they were going to make the front end experience a lot easier for a customer of healthcare to get what they want, get what they need. It's a time of great emotional kind of crisis feeling with many people who are accessing healthcare. So therefore, having really well-trained greeters, intake personnel, and triage nurses is really, really important. That one change helped really change the culture really fast. In fact, within 90 to 120 days, the culture of that whole organization changed to be very customer focused. He had to overinvest. He had to spend more than other hospitals were spending because the hospital's in a different place. So that's the idea about innovation. Now, here's your assignment for this week. I want you to think about the customers that use what you do. So you can think internally. And you can also think externally if you touch the external customer, but I really want you to think about internal customers. And what can you do personally to stop that would make the customer's experience of what you do less complex? And what could you stop doing? I call it stop and go. What could you start doing that would create unexpected value? Those are the things I want you to think about. Now, the things that you might stop are old practices that have just been assumed that they're still relevant or still needed that really aren't. And could you experiment with stop doing them or simplifying them and streamlining them, make it easier for your customer to get what they want? And then what could you do that would give them unexpected value? Maybe it's forming a personal relationship. Maybe it's getting to know them better as a person and taking an interest in what they're interested in. Or it could be providing extra service or extra care that, again, makes their job easier. So I want you to think about that, and that's what I want you to talk about in your next peer meeting, what you came up with. And then as a final thing, what I want you to do is think about how to improve your life. This is innovation for your life. And so you can still think about what you could stop in your life that's no longer necessary to do, and what you'd start in your life. What could you overinvest in to make your life richer and better? And so I have an idea. I want you this next weekend to have a really planned, positive weekend. So I want you to take some time to plan. And one of the things that we know is that people are more creative when they do new things. If we live our life in a tight routine, it kind of makes us dull and eventually makes us boring. What makes us interesting are new experiences because there are things to talk about and things to share and animates us and so forth. So what I want you to do this coming weekend is I want you to plan one new meal. You can either cook it or go out to eat, but I want you to eat foods that you normally don't eat. Or go to a restaurant, maybe it's an ethnic restaurant where they're cooking food that you're not used to. And I want you to go and have that experience. I'd like you to also, during the weekend, to try one new experience in nature. Maybe it's just going to a park, maybe it's going down to the shore, or maybe it's actually driving somewhere and going for a hike. But I want you to have a new experience in nature. And I'd like you to also try one new form of entertainment. So whatever you normally do for entertainment, try something different. So you could go to a book reading or a yoga seminar or a jazz club if you don't particularly go to jazz clubs, or a concert if you don't particularly go to concerts. Just try something new that is a little bit stimulating to you. You might be curious about it, but you're not really excited about it. I don't care if you're too excited about it, because I want you to go experience to see if you learn something. And the main thing, people who are interesting tell other people what they do. So somebody who tells others what they do tend to be really fascinating, and that creates an emotional bond that creates dopamine, which will make you happier. So this is a way to overinvest in your own happiness. So I want you to think about innovation in this way, really for the rest of your life. What can you stop doing that is going to make your life better, make your work better, that you really value? And what can you start doing? What can you overinvest? What can you overinvest in that normal people don't invest in? How do you make yourself extraordinary? That's the answer. And if you live a life that you're constantly innovating, I think you'll find that your life is richer and more exciting, more interesting, and more fulfilling. Thanks for listening today. Look forward to seeing you next time.